Meanwhile, General Green stood in his office, phone in hand, watching the security feed with an expression of quiet satisfaction. But then something changed. His sharp eyes caught something on the footage he hadn't noticed before, something that made his jaw tighten. The officer wasn't working alone. There was another figure, just barely visible in the shadows, outside the window. Someone Green never expected. Someone who wasn't supposed to be alive. The officer's hands trembled as he backed toward the door, his mind racing. He had to get out before things got worse, before whoever sent that message found him first. But just as he reached for the handle, the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. A cold wave of fear crashed over him. Then a voice, calm, steady, and close. "You took something that doesn't belong to you." The officer spun around, but he couldn't see where the voice was coming from. His pulse pounded in his ears. He fumbled for his gun, but before he could reach it, a shadow moved. And suddenly he was yanked backward. A sharp pain shot through his arm as it was twisted behind him. He struggled, but the grip was unrelenting. Then the lights flickered back on, and he found himself face to face with General Green. But Green wasn't looking at him. His gaze was locked on the doorway, where the second figure now stepped into view. The officer's breath hitched. He had assumed this was just a job gone wrong, but the look on the general's face told him this was something much bigger. A history deeper than stolen documents. The figure stepped forward, their face now fully visible. The officer felt his stomach drop. He had seen this man's picture before, years ago, in military reports, in old case files. But that wasn't possible. This man was supposed to be dead. General Green's jaw tightened. "I buried you." The man smirked. "Not deep enough." The room fell into a tense silence. The officer, still trapped in Green's grip, barely dared to breathe. He wasn't the one in control here. He never was. This had never just been about a break-in. He had stepped into a war that had started long before he ever picked this job. General Green exhaled slowly, his sharp eyes fixed on the man before him. "Why now?" he asked, his voice calm but edged with something deeper, regret, maybe even guilt. The man smirked again, but there was no humor in it. "Because some things don't stay buried." His gaze flickered to the officer. "And some people dig in the wrong places." The officer swallowed hard, realizing that whatever had been locked away in that safe wasn't just classified, it was dangerous. He had been chasing money, but he had uncovered something far worse. And now he knew too much to simply walk away. A rogue cop thought he had pulled off the perfect heist, breaking into a locked safe, expecting stacks of cash or priceless treasures. But what he didn't know was that this wasn't just any safe. It belonged to a highly respected black U.S. general, a man who had fought for his country and protected secrets far bigger than money. As the officer pried open the heavy door, he was met with an unexpected surprise. A powerful blast of bright red paint exploding right in his face. His plan had just backfired, and now he was marked, literally. What was inside the safe that made it so important? And more importantly, what would happen when the general found out? This wasn't just a simple case of theft. It was about to become a shocking scandal that no one saw coming. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. The officer stumbled back, wiping at the thick, dripping paint that clung to his face and uniform. His heart pounded. He hadn't expected this. He thought this was just another break-in, another job where he could slip in, take what he wanted, and disappear without a trace. But now the alarm had been triggered. Maybe not the kind that made noise, but the kind that sent a clear message. Someone would know he had been here, and whoever set this trap wasn't playing games. He turned back to the safe, eyes stinging, trying to make sense of what was inside. Papers, medals, and documents stamped with official seals. Some looked old, maybe even classified. This wasn't money or jewelry. This was something bigger. Something dangerous. And then it hit him whose safe this was. The name on the files made his stomach drop. He had just stolen from a powerful U.S. general. And now there was no way to undo it. Panic set in as the officer flipped through the documents, his fingers smudging the edges with streaks of red paint. Some of the papers had military insignias, others bore government seals he didn't recognize. One thing was clear: he had messed with something way above his pay grade. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. He had assumed this was just another job, but now he realized he had stolen from a man with power, influence, and connections that could ruin him in ways he hadn't even imagined. Meanwhile, across town, General Marcus Green sat in his quiet office, sipping coffee as he reviewed security footage from his private property. A sharp beep on his phone drew his attention. The system had been triggered. A silent alarm, just as he had planned. He clicked the video feed, and there it was, a man, drenched in red paint, standing in front of his open safe. His eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a break-in. This was a challenge. And whoever this man was, he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. The officer's breath was uneven as he stuffed the documents back into the safe, his hands shaking. He had to get out, fast. But the red paint clung to him like a brand, a mark that would follow him no matter how far he ran. He wiped at his face, smearing it even more, his frustration growing. This was supposed to be easy. A simple break-in. A quick grab. But now he was in the crosshairs of a man who had built a career on hunting down threats. General Green wasted no time. He made one call, his voice steady, his words measured. He took the bait. There was no need for panic. He had prepared for this, knowing someone would eventually try to take what wasn't theirs. But this wasn't just about stolen files. This was personal. The safe contained more than just classified information. It held secrets about his past, his battles, and the enemies he had made along the way. And now one of those enemies had just walked straight into his trap. The officer staggered back, his pulse racing, but just as he turned toward the door, his phone vibrated in his pocket. His heart nearly stopped when he saw the message. No name, no number, just 2 words. Asterisk, asterisk, you're marked. Asterisk, asterisk. His breath hitched. Someone was watching. Maybe they had been watching the whole time. His eyes darted around the room, searching for cameras, sensors, anything that could have given him away. But it didn't matter now. He had left his fingerprints, his footprints, and worst of all, that bright red paint would make sure he couldn't just disappear into the night. He thought he was in control of this job, but it was clear now he was never the hunter. He was the prey.